I never thought a single word, honeymoon, could explode into a global misunderstanding overnight. Army can turn anything into a storm, but this time, even I was shocked at how fast the internet twisted my plans into something completely different. I didn't blame them though. I knew exactly how it sounded, and honestly, maybe I should have chosen a different word. But at that moment, sitting alone in my apartment at 2 in the morning with my guitar leaning against my leg, honeymoon felt like the closest word to describe it. It wasn't about love, marriage, or some secret fiance. It was about the one thing that's been shaping my life since I was a kid, music. The schedule had been eating away at me for months. Filming, recording, promotions, events, rehearsals, everything blended together until I couldn't remember the last time I breathed without someone handing me a script or a camera following my steps. I love my job, I love my members, I love ARMY, but there's a part of me that always needs quiet. I need silence before I create. I need space before I turn emotions into lyrics. And lately, I felt that space was getting smaller and smaller. So I made a decision, a big one, a decision that the world interpreted in the most amusingly dramatic way possible. Taehyung is getting married. Taehyung is planning a honeymoon. Taehyung has a secret partner. Taehyung is settling down. But in reality, I was planning a trip alone, a long, secluded break where I could disappear into music with no distractions, no cameras, no obligations. A honeymoon with myself, with my creativity, with the art that keeps me alive. It was dramatic, yes, but the way I felt inside made that word feel right. I didn't expect the news to break so loudly. One small vague answer during an interview, and boom, the internet detonated. Headlines spun out of control. Fans panicked. Reporters camped online waiting for a follow up. Even my own friends texted me asking if I was hiding something. Jungkook called me 3 times in a row, convinced he'd missed some crucial update in my life. Yeah, Kim Taehyung, what did you do? He had said, voice half frustrated, half amused. I just said I needed a honeymoon, I answered. With who? Yourself? Yes. There was silence. Then his laugh echoed so loud through the phone, I had to pull it away from my ear. That was when it hit me. People weren't going to let this go unless I explained it. And honestly, I wasn't ready to reveal everything yet. My music wasn't done. My ideas weren't shaped. My heart still felt like a half written letter. So instead of clarifying things immediately, I waited. I watched the chaos unfold with a strange blend of guilt and curiosity. Army was fighting journalists, journalists were fighting each other, even my staff asked for clarification. But the truth? I wanted to share the real story myself when the timing felt right. This wasn't just a vacation plan, it was a life reset. And for the first time in years, I was completely in control of it. The idea started months earlier. I'd been working on melodies late at night, scribbling lyrics on napkins, humming into my phone like a madman. I felt something pulling me, something I couldn't ignore. A new sound, a new direction, a new version of me waiting to be shaped. But creativity doesn't grow in chaos, and my life was nothing but chaos. One night, after a long day of filming, I stood by the window of my apartment, staring at the city lights vibrating below me. Everything felt loud, everything felt too fast. I wanted a pause, not from people, not from ARMY, but from the pace of my life. And I remember something someone once told me. Artists need honeymoons with their souls. That sentence planted itself in my mind. It grew roots, it dug into my heart. And that was when I decided I was going on a creative honeymoon. A journey dedicated only to art, sound, and rediscovering my voice. A journey no one knew about. A journey that had nothing to do with marriage. The destination was set. A remote town somewhere far, quiet beaches, cold mornings, warm nights, and no internet unless I turned it on. A place where I could wake up to the sound of waves instead of alarms. A place where I could record my voice without worrying someone might hear and leak it online. A place where I could breathe. I imagined myself sitting on the sand with a small speaker, the sky still dark, the horizon a faint blush of orange. I imagined holding my notebook open, the pages flapping in the wind as I searched for words that matched my heart. I imagined freedom, but the moment the word honeymoon slipped out during that interview, everything spiraled. The staff gasped behind the scenes. The interviewer raised an eyebrow like I had just confessed a crime, and I, completely unaware, just smiled. The clip went viral before I even got home. Millions of comments flooded in. Memes exploded. Edits of me in wedding tuxedos circulated everywhere. Fans argued whether the mystery bride existed. Some even claimed they had proof of me being secretly engaged. It was chaos, beautiful, hilarious chaos. And yet, deep inside, I felt strangely at peace. The world could misunderstand me. That was fine. What mattered was the journey I was about to take, a journey that had nothing to do with romance, a journey where the only partner was music. I knew I eventually had to explain everything. ARMY deserved the truth. They always do. But I wanted the explanation to come from me, not from a rush statement, not from PR damage control, not from a panic tweet. I wanted to say it in my own words. Calmly, honestly, and with the warmth of someone who trusts the people listening. I set the camera on the small tripod near my living room window, the one place in my apartment where the morning light falls perfectly across the floor. Soft, warm, not too bright, almost cinematic. If I was going to explain myself, I wanted it to feel like a conversation, not a statement. I took a breath, combed my fingers through my hair, and pressed record. For a moment, I didn't speak. I just looked at the lens, imagining ARMY on the other side. People who've walked with me through every version of myself, idol, actor, vocalist, Kim Taehyung, the quiet one, the loud one, the weird one, the soft one. I wanted to tell them everything. I wanted to let them into the part of my life I usually keep locked away. Hello, ARMY. I began, my voice softer than I intended. I think I owe you a story. The words felt heavy, but not in a painful way. More like the heaviness of a gift you're finally ready to give. I explained how the internet misunderstood everything. How one playful word honeymoon created a global explosion. How even my members were confused. How Jungkook nearly drove to my apartment at midnight just to confirm I wasn't secretly getting married. But the truth is, I said, leaning a little closer to the camera, the honeymoon is for my music and for myself. I thought saying it out loud would feel embarrassing, like revealing too much. But the moment the words left my lips, I felt lighter, freer, more honest than I had felt in months. As the camera kept rolling, I talked about everything I haven't said publicly. The burnout, the pressure, the loneliness that comes even when you're surrounded by thousands of fans. The strange emptiness that follows you after a concert ends and the lights go out. The feeling that your heart is full but also craving something more, something quiet. I told them about the melodies stuck in my mind for weeks. The songs I hummed in the shower, the chords I played at 3 a.m., the lines I scribbled in my phone whenever inspiration struck. I wanted ARMY to hear all of it someday. But before that could happen, I needed to retreat, not as an escape, but as an act of rebuilding. Music saved my life so many times, I said, and I think it deserves a honeymoon with me. Just us. No distractions, no noise. When I finished filming, I didn't post the video immediately. Something told me to keep it for later. The world wasn't ready yet. I wasn't ready. Not until I stepped into the journey first. The next few days were a blur of preparation. Packing clothes, choosing which guitar to bring, deleting apps from my phone so the temptations of scrolling wouldn't follow me. I wanted to disconnect completely. I wanted silence, nature, fresh air, time that wasn't broken into schedules and alarms. The staff tried to reason with me. Taehyung si, maybe you should at least clarify the rumor so we can avoid more chaos. But I shook my head gently. No, let me go first, then I'll tell them. They didn't understand, but they respected it. They always did. They trusted me, even when my ideas sounded strange. And to be fair, this wasn't the strangest. 2 nights before I left, I stood on my balcony with a cup of tea warming my cold hands. The city was glowing below me, thousands of windows shining like tiny stars. I wondered how many people were awake at that moment. How many were laughing, crying, dreaming, worrying. My life often felt too big, too loud, too exposed. But in that moment, wrapped in silence, it felt human again. I leaned against the railing, staring at the sky. Clouds drifted lazily across the moon. The air smelled like rain. I closed my eyes and tried to picture the place I was going. I'd seen photos, watched videos, read reviews, but I didn't want a perfect image. I wanted mystery. I wanted to be surprised. I wanted the kind of environment that would shake loose whatever was trapped inside my chest. My phone buzzed. A message from Jimin. Yeah, where are you going exactly? Is it safe? Need me to fly there and check first? I laughed. Another message arrived immediately. I'm serious, Tai Tai. I thumbed a quick reply. I'll be fine. Don't worry. I'll come back with good music. Pause. You better. And send photos. If you disappear, we're all coming to find you. I smiled, shaking my head. My members were always like this, half chaotic, half protective. They pretended to tease me, but I knew they cared more than they ever admitted. But photos, I wasn't going to send many, maybe a few, maybe none. This trip wasn't for social media, it wasn't for updates, it wasn't for content. It was for the parts of myself I've ignored for too long. The night before my flight, I couldn't sleep. My suitcase was open at the foot of my bed, half packed, clothes spilling over the sides. My guitar case leaned against the wall. Everything was ready, but my mind wasn't. I walked over to the closet and pulled out an old notebook, a black leather one with worn edges and pages filled with thoughts I had written years ago, songs that never made it, words I was too scared to share, dreams I never had time to chase. I flipped through the pages, feeling the weight of every sentence. Some lines hurt, some made me smile, some reminded me of who I used to be, someone who dreamed of making music, not for charts or trophies, but because it made the world feel less heavy. I slipped the notebook into my backpack without thinking. This honeymoon wasn't just about new music. It was about reconnecting with the parts of myself I'd left behind. The next morning came quickly, too quickly. I woke before my alarm, my heart beating in a mix of excitement and fear. I showered, got dressed, pulled a cap low over my eyes, and took one last look around my apartment. I whispered to myself, "Let's go." Outside, the air was cold and the world still half asleep. I pulled my mask up and walked toward the car waiting for me. The driver greeted me softly, loading my luggage with careful hands. I sat in the back seat, hugging my guitar like it was a lifeline. As the car pulled away from the building, I watched the city fade in the window reflection, streets empty, lights dim, the soft hum of early morning, the sound of a world quietly waking. My phone vibrated with final messages, Jin wishing me a safe trip, RM reminding me to breathe and think freely, Hoseok telling me to dance with the wind, Yoongi simply writing, "Don't overwork yourself." Jungkook sending a selfie half asleep, hair messy, caption, "I'm watching you." Their warmth filled my chest. But there was one message that stopped me for a moment, my mom. Take care of your health, eat, sleep well, and find happiness even in small things. I held my breath as I read it. Then I locked my phone and placed it face down beside me. The car headed toward the airport, and with every passing kilometer, the noise of my life grew quieter. The world behind me blurred, the world ahead of me expanded. The airport was quieter than usual when I arrived, still lingering in that early morning calm before crowds spilled in. I kept my cap low, mask tucked securely around my face, and walked through the private entrance the staff had arranged for me. Even then, I felt a strange, familiar nervousness. Not fear, just the awareness that I was stepping into a journey no one fully understood yet. As I waited for boarding, I sat near a large window overlooking the runway. The sky was still tinted blue-gray, a soft glow slowly blooming along the horizon. Planes rested like sleeping giants, engines silent, wings still. It felt peaceful. It felt like the pause I'd been craving for months. I leaned back in the chair, resting my guitar case beside me. My fingers brushed over the handle unconsciously. That guitar had been with me through countless stages, countless nights, and countless quiet moments alone. Somehow, it felt symbolic to bring it on this trip as if it was my only true companion on this honeymoon. While I stared out the window, memories drifted back to the last few years, performances, recordings, celebrations, long nights in studios, laughter with the members, all of it beautiful, all of it exhausting. Every moment was surrounded by people, managers, staff, fans, cameras, and through it all, I kept smiling, joking, working, performing, because I love what I do, truly. But loving something doesn't mean you never feel tired. I looked down at my hands. They were trembling just a little, something only I would notice. Too many days of pushing myself. Too many nights without real rest. Too many thoughts I never said out loud. This trip wasn't a luxury. It was necessary. When boarding was announced, I took a slow breath and stood up. The hallway leading to the plane was quiet, a gentle echo of footsteps following me. I found my seat near the window, tucked myself in, and placed my guitar carefully in the overhead compartment. As the plane began to taxi, I felt a soft tug in my chest, nervousness, excitement, curiosity all blending together. The engines roared to life. The runway sped past. The city shrank below me until it became a mosaic of lights and buildings. And then we were in the sky. I watched the clouds drift beneath us like floating mountains. The sun finally rose, turning the entire sky into gold. Warm, soft, endless, something inside me lifted. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. Hours passed quietly. I slept a little, listened to soft jazz, and wrote a few lines in my notebook. The world is loud, but my heart whispers, "Let me follow the quiet." I didn't know if it would ever become a song, but it felt right. When the plane finally landed, the air felt different the moment we stepped out. Warmer, fresher, more open somehow. The smell of the ocean drifted faintly, even in the airport hall. I adjusted my bag, grabbed my luggage, and walked toward the exit. A small car was waiting for me. The driver greeted me with a gentle smile and a polite bow. "Welcome, Taehyung C." As he drove, the landscape unfolded in ways I didn't expect. Endless coastline, tall trees swaying slowly, roads that curved gently along cliffs overlooking the ocean. Waves crashing against rocks in a rhythm that felt almost musical. Everything was alive, yet quiet. "This place is beautiful," I said softly. "It's peaceful," the driver replied. "People come here to rest, to breathe." I smiled. "That's exactly what I need." The small house I rented sat on a hill overlooking a secluded beach. Wooden, simple, with large windows that let the sunlight pour in. It looked like something from a film, humble, warm, unpolished in the perfect way. When I stepped inside, the floor creaked under my feet. The air smelled like pine and sea salt. There was a small fireplace, shelves filled with old books, a cozy kitchen, and a balcony with a view that almost stole my breath. This wasn't luxury. This wasn't comfort in the usual sense. This was freedom. I set my luggage down and walked straight to the balcony. Below me, the waves rolled in and out, slow and steady, brushing the shore with gentle white foam. The sky stretched endlessly above, a soft mix of blues and whites. The wind was cool, brushing through my hair. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in months, my mind was quiet. Later that afternoon, I unpacked only the essentials: a few clothes, my notebook, my small recording mic, my camera, and of course, my guitar. I placed the guitar gently on a wooden chair near the window, where the sunlight made the wood glow. It felt symbolic, like placing a piece of my heart where it could breathe again. The first night arrived softly. The air grew cooler, the sky deepened, and stars appeared one by one. No city noise, no schedules, No notifications. Just the sound of the ocean and the crackle of the small fire I lit in the corner. I made tea and sat on the floor with my back against the couch, hugging my knees close. I didn't play music yet. I wanted to feel the place first, to let it seep into me. Hours passed like minutes. Eventually, I picked up my notebook. The words poured out faster than I expected. Thoughts I hadn't touched in years. Emotions I didn't realize I'd buried. Dreams I had forgotten. The pages filled with half sentences, sketches of melodies, metaphors I didn't fully understand yet. When I finally put the notebook down, my hands were shaking not from tiredness but from a strange sense of relief, like something inside me had unlocked. I reached for my guitar, fingers softly brushing the strings. The room hummed with each note, low and warm. I closed my eyes and let my fingers move, not thinking, just feeling. Chords formed, melodies bloomed. I hummed lightly under my breath, letting the sound merge with the ocean outside. It was imperfect, unpolished, raw, but it was honest. And I realized something in that moment. This trip wasn't just a honeymoon for my creativity, it was a honeymoon for my soul, a chance to fall in love again with the version of myself I had lost. And hours slipped by as I played. The fire dimmed, my tea turned cold, the stars shifted outside the window. But I didn't care. This was the moment I came for. This was the silence I needed. When I finally set the guitar down, I felt a calm I hadn't felt in years. I whispered to myself, this is why I came. Before going to bed, I opened the window slightly to let the night breeze in. I lay down, listening to the ocean soft, steady, endless. The next morning, sunlight spilled gently through the curtains, painting soft patterns across the wooden floor. I woke up slowly, like my body had finally realized it was allowed to rest. No alarms, no managers calling, no rush. Just the sound of waves brushing the shore outside my window. For a moment, I stayed in bed, letting the quiet settle into my bones. My muscles felt lighter, my head felt clearer. It was strange how one night in a peaceful place could undo weeks of tension. Or maybe it wasn't the place, maybe it was the intention. The decision to stop running, stop performing, stop pretending I wasn't exhausted. After a while, I got up, tied my hair loosely, and stepped onto the balcony. The morning breeze was cool against my skin. The ocean sparkled under the rising Sunday. Seagulls drifted lazily in the sky. Everything moved gently, without urgency. Nature had no deadlines, no pressure, no expectations. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and let the sea air fill my lungs. This was the peace I had been searching for. Inside, I made breakfast something simple, eggs and toast, the kind of meal I never had time to cook back home. I ate slowly, savoring every bite. There was no rush, there was no place to be. The world could wait. After breakfast, I grabbed my notebook and walked down to the beach. The sand was cool under my feet, soft enough to sink into with every step. The tide was low, exposing smooth stones and small shells scattered along the shore. I found a large flat rock near the water and sat down, letting the waves brush close to my toes. I opened my notebook and stared at the blank page. Usually, blank pages made me feel pressured, like I had to fill them with something meaningful. But here, the page felt welcoming, open, patient, ready. The words came slowly at first, then faster. Not lyrics, thoughts, feelings, questions I never allowed myself to ask. When did I stop listening to myself? Why am I afraid of slowing down? What do I want to create just for me? I wrote until my hand cramped. The ocean breeze dried the ink almost immediately. The sound of the waves formed a rhythm behind every sentence, like nature was collaborating with me. After a while, I closed the notebook and lay back on the rock, letting the sun warm my face. I felt small, but in a comforting way, like the world was huge enough to hold everything I was carrying. Later, I walked farther down the beach, exploring the coastline. There were tide pools with tiny fish darting around, old pieces of driftwood bleached white by the Sunday, a secluded cove where the cliffs curved inward like an embrace. I took photos not for posting, just for myself, memories of the quiet. At one point, I found a smooth stone shaped almost like a heart. I turned it over in my hand, smiling at the imperfect edges. Something about it felt symbolic. I slipped it into my pocket without thinking. By the time I returned to the house, the sun was higher and the air warmer. I made tea and sat by the window, watching the waves. The calmness of the place began to seep deeper into me, untangling knots I didn't realize I'd been carrying. But as peaceful as it was, there was also a strange loneliness, not the painful kind, but the kind that creates space. Space for reflection, space for honesty. I missed the members a little, their teasing, their laughter, their presence that always felt like home. A part of me wondered what they were doing at that moment. Probably practicing or filming or eating together. I could imagine Jungkook complaining about being bored, Jimin telling him to stop, Yoongi pretending not to listen but secretly paying attention. A small warmth filled my chest at the thought, but I didn't reach for my phone. I didn't want to break the silence yet. In the afternoon, I set up my small recording mic near the window. I opened my guitar case, took it out carefully, and tuned the strings. The moment the first chord resonated in the room, I felt a shift inside me, like something had clicked into place. The melody that came out wasn't planned, it wasn't structured, it wasn't even meant to become a song. It was simply a feeling translated into sound. I let my fingers move freely, not thinking, just expressing. And then, without warning, lyrics slipped out. Soft, quiet, hesitant at first. I ran too fast, forgot to breathe, lost the part that made me me. I stopped, surprised. Those words had been buried inside me for months, maybe years. Saying them aloud felt like opening a window in my chest. I kept going. The music flowed out in waves, raw and honest. Some parts shaky, some parts strong. I forgot about perfection. I forgot about expectations. I forgot about charts, reviews, reactions. It was just me and the sound. When I finished, my throat felt tight. Not from singing, from emotion. I wiped a small tear that escaped without warning. This was why I came. Not for escape, not for rest. For truth. In the evening, I sat on the balcony again, watching the sun melt into the ocean. Colors bled across the sky: orange, pink, violet. The wind carried the scent of salt and pine. The world felt warm even as the air cooled. I thought about the rumor still swirling online, the wild theories, the jokes, the chaos. Somewhere out there, people still believed I was planning a real honeymoon, that I was secretly getting married, that I had a fiance hiding in the shadows. I laughed softly to myself. If only they knew the reality, that my bride was a notebook full of scribbles and a guitar missing a string, that my wedding destination was a quiet house on a lonely beach, that my marriage was to music, to peace, to rediscovering who I am. But I would tell them someday. Not yet. Not until this journey carved its message deeper into me. Night arrived slowly. Stars blinked awake one by one. I lit the fireplace again and sat on the rug, watching the flames dance. The crackling sound was comforting, almost like a heartbeat. Before bedtime, I picked up the heart-shaped stone I found earlier and placed it on the shelf near my guitar. A reminder: imperfect things can still be beautiful. As I crawled into bed, the ocean hummed outside the window, and I whispered a quiet promise to myself. Tomorrow I'll go deeper. I didn't expect the story to spread so fast. One moment I was quietly leaving the studio, my hoodie up and my mask on, trying not to draw attention. The next moment, my phone buzzed with hundreds of notifications that made me stop right in front of the parking lot. Honeymoon plans? I whispered to myself, staring at the screen like it had betrayed me. Armies were tagging me everywhere. Articles were popping up faster than I could read. A headline flashed across the screen: Taehyung chooses music over marriage. I actually laughed, not because it was funny, but because it felt surreal. How did they even connect those dots? All I said was that I was disappearing for a while to work on something meaningful. But somehow, someone turned that into me abandoning some imaginary honeymoon. As I lowered myself into the car, I felt this strange mix of warmth and pressure. Warmth because ARMY cared enough to talk about me nonstop. Pressure because the world was once again spinning a story I never wrote. When I got back to my apartment, I dropped onto the couch and stared at the ceiling. My guitar rested against the coffee table like it had been waiting for me to come home. I reached for it almost instinctively. As soon as my fingers touched the strings, everything else faded away: the rumors, the noise, the confusion. The melody from last night returned, soft and warm, and for a moment I forgot about everything happening outside my walls. But the second the melody deepened, I felt this emotion rise in my chest, something like longing mixed with responsibility. I wanted to create, I wanted to breathe through music again. It wasn't that I chose music over anything, it was simply that music chose me first. It always has. Since I was a kid, music was there before anything else. Before relationships, before fame, before expectations. And now, with the world making up their own versions of my life, it felt more important than ever to reconnect with what's real. My phone buzzed again. I ignored it at first, but the vibration wouldn't stop. I finally grabbed it and saw a message from one of the staff members. Tai, we need to talk. The rumor is getting bigger than expected. I let out a soft sigh. I already knew this would happen. I already knew someone would try to fix it. But as much as I respect my team, I needed to speak for myself. My truth didn't need a PR script. Before I could reply, I noticed the way the city lights glowed outside my window. Seoul was alive tonight, buzzing with energy, and for some reason, I felt that same spark inside me. I grabbed my jacket and stepped outside. I didn't have a destination in mind. I just walked down the streets, past the shops, past the restaurants filled with laughter, past the couples holding hands. Funny how the world thought I was avoiding romance, when in reality, I was simply chasing the version of myself I felt slipping away. As I kept walking, I found myself at the Han River again, that same spot where I wrote the first verse. I sat on the same bench, the same cold metal beneath me, the same wind brushing against my face. And for a moment, everything felt connected, like the universe was setting the stage for something important. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Music wasn't just a career, it was home. Every note I played felt like a heartbeat. That last one warmed my heart. It reminded me that even when the world was chaotic, ARMY always understood me in ways others didn't. Thank you for understanding that choosing music isn't choosing it over anything or anyone. It's choosing the part of myself that's always been the most honest. It's choosing the voice that helps me speak when words are hard to find. It's choosing the passion that has shaped every moment of my life. No matter what rumors come, no matter how the world twists the story, I hope you always remember this. I am grateful, truly grateful, for your patience, for your support, for your belief in me, and for walking with me even through chapters I haven't fully figured out yet. So tonight, before I turn off the lights and let the music rest until tomorrow, I want to say it clearly. Thank you. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for waiting for me. And thank you for letting me be myself.